And whenever you need care, you just go to any of the hospitals in your vicinity and get treated. However, there are people that have never thought it wise to pay so much attention to their health and the finances that go into keeping them healthy, so much so that when things happen to them, when emergencies come up, they do not know what to do. So building an emergency fund can help mitigate the setback of any unexpected medical expense, although it's impossible to predict what kind of expenses might crop up. It may be cancer, it may be anything. There are some strategies for planning to have a certain amount of savings set aside for medical emergencies. Now, my question to you listening is simple. Do you have a medical emergency fund? And while you think about what medical emergencies are, they're injuries or illnesses that require immediate care. Unlike other types of medical situations, a medical emergency can result in serious health consequences or even death if not attended to right away. So some of the signs of an adult medical emergency listed by the American College of Emergency Physicians include changes in vision, choking, fainting, injury from a serious motor vehicle accident, sudden and severe pain, suicidal or homicidal thoughts, uncontrolled bleeding, vomiting blood. So, as many emergencies as you can possibly think of. But there's a study that says that 1 in 3 Americans refrained from seeking medical care due to the cost. So not being able to pay for medical care poses a serious hazard on your health, since medical issues left unaddressed can spiral into much more severe health problems. So have you ever thought of, setting up a medical emergency fund? Do you have one? Is this something you are looking to do? Is this something you tried in time past? It didn't work for you? I know some of you will come and say, Denise, we are still looking for food to eat. We are talking about setting funds for medical emergency. Does it even make sense? Yes. In reality, some of you are unable to even save anything from what you earn. How much more set aside something for where there is a medical emergency? Now, if you don't have any of these set up, you don't have a medical emergency fund set up, who do you look to, or what do you look to offset medical bills if and when you do have a medical emergency? 0817 923 0002, 0817 923 0002. We have 0817 923 0003. Again, 0817 923 0002. WhatsApp and Telegram number remains 0816. Nigerian Fair, good afternoon to you.
Hello.
Good afternoon. You know what? Please do well to turn down the volume of your radio set whenever you call, and also ensure that you're audible so we can hear you. Okay? Turn off your radio set. Turn off your radio set. I beg you. Thank you. So we're going to commercial break. When we come back, I start taking your calls and reading your messages. That's all that I'm asking. Do you have a medical emergency fund? Or do you look forward to? Yeah, I know it's normal for us to say, God forbid. Yes, God indeed forbid that anything does happen to us. But when it does happen, do we make plans? Do we make plans? You know, the same way you make plans for some of us, we're very meticulous about our lives. And we know what we are going to eat tomorrow. We know what we're going to wear tomorrow. We know how we're going to get to work tomorrow. For every penny we get, we know where we channel those pennies to. However, does it ever go towards medical insurance? It never comes. Now, what happened? What plan are you also making? Are you looking to someone to help offset medical bills? Or is that something you can fall back on somehow? I know some families had to treat their mother or their father who was down with one terminal illness, and they had to sell plots of land to that effect. If they were lucky to be landlords and landladies, they start pressuring their tenants for house rent to offset some of those medical bills. In the end, after everything, maybe the parents survive, or maybe the parents die. But you see that running up and down whenever there's a medical emergency and there is no money. Are you one of those persons? Or do you say, every month, if I earn 10 naira, I will set aside 50 kobo for a medical emergency? It might not be enough, but at least if they say deposit XYZ amount, I probably will be able to do that before. Some husbands know their wives are expecting a child. Now, childbirth is not supposed to be an emergency, but we have seen cases when, during the process of delivery, complications do happen. And they tell the man, yes, I know you guys had planned for a natural birth. However, if we don't cut this woman open, she will die, or the baby will die, or both of them will die. It's at that point the husband starts thinking of who to call to raise money for the CS. That's, at that point, it's a medical emergency. Nigerian Info, good afternoon to you and welcome.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Zero 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0002. The WhatsApp and Telegram number for your WhatsApp and Telegram messages is 08090306416, 0809-0306416. Oh, is it something? I don't know. Some of you hearing this for the very first time, and if you're hearing it for the very first time, it's fine. Absolutely, it's fine. It's not a problem at all. But I want us to leave this conversation not just hearing about it, but knowing what it is and planning towards it. Because it's the difference between owing a hospital or a health center a huge amount of money and leaving that hospital knowing fully well that you received care, or your family or your relative received care, and you're not owing them a dime. Alright, so is this something you're considering? Is this something you're doing already? Is this something that you will possibly do? Soki Fubara on WhatsApp says, medical emergency. I just pray it never happens. May God bless us with good health and keep us free from wahala. Better to save money to enjoy your life. If wahala comes or the unexpected happens, God can take control. Ha! Yes, I agree with you. God forbid. Even me seated here, it's a God forbid for me. But when it does happen, what do I do? What do you do? A lot of people have lost their children because they could not afford to take the child to the hospital. They knew what was wrong with the child. When the neighbors said, take this child to the hospital, they say, I know say it good to take my pikin go hospital, but is it free? We don't have the money. And they manage those sicknesses at home. And before you know it, the child was gone. Died. And they start crying and crying and crying. And everybody knows that if only they had taken these children or that child to the hospital, the child will still be alive today. But they were not wrong when they said they didn't have money. It is only because they didn't have money to take this child to the hospital. So imagine how lives will be preserved and how, you don't have to start going back and forth with a hospital because you're unable to pay the bill. This one says, we are people of faith, and as people of faith, we don't think about the negatives. My name is John from Rumola. People of faith, and they don't think about the negatives. Okay, that's cool. Not to think about the negatives. So while I wait for your call to get through to me, and I read your messages as we go, remember we are on X at Nigeria Info PH on X. Join the conversation on X. And then Facebook page remains Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. 0817-923-0002 and 0817-923-0003. Mike Boy says someone should please help me with Nigeria Info's WhatsApp number. I think we always post our WhatsApp number whenever, hold on. I'm sure that Mike Boy, if you look at, hold on a second, please. Okay. Since you're watching live, it is 0809-030-6416. 0809-030-6416. Once again, 0809-030-6416. That's the WhatsApp number. So how do you think why you need a medical emergency fund and how to build one? Like I said earlier, medical emergencies can happen for any number of reasons, and they are costly to pay for, with or without insurance. Urgent care or emergency room visits often come with high out-of-the-pocket costs and may require follow-up care. So setting aside money specifically for medical emergencies help ensure that if such an event occurs, you're less likely to be burdened with sorts of debt in the aftermath. It can be used not only to pay for medical bills, but also to cover expenses on lost income if you become incapacitated. So, you can find a means to store medical emergency funds money. There are several strategies to build an emergency fund. They might not all be suited to your financial situation, so it's advised that you find what works best for you. Create a budget. I think we talked about budget a lot of times. A budget provides guidance for what to do with money and helps you stay on track to consistently build up savings. If you already have a budget with an emergency fund as one of the line items, consider adding another category specifically for medical emergencies. Calculate how much you would need to save each month based on your various incomes or sources of incomes to save up at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. This amount will vary depending on how many sources of income you have, how much money you need to cover each month of expenses, and whether you have dependents that you are also financially responsible for. And you do not need to be so rich to do that. Okay? Automate savings too. It's easy to forget to make contributions to a savings account and end up spending what could have been saved. Automated savings can help alleviate that problem by transferring money into a savings account for you. And there are many bank apps that come with automatic savings features. Some apps can even go as far as analyzing the user's checking account and looks for places where the money can be saved. It then automatically transfers those savings to the savings where the automated savings account has been set up. There are also third-party apps such as Digit and Chime that can automatically move a percentage of your paycheck into a savings account. Also, you should think about saving bonus earnings. It's not the ones you use for lao or flexing. Surprise earnings, tax refunds, or security deposit checks, for example, make for great contributions to an emergency fund. It may be tempting to spend the money, but you can avoid impulse buying by setting aside a certain amount of the check in your savings account from the get-go. What else should you do? You should also find, sources of passive income. That kind of income that comes from a source other than an employer, a contractor. While it may require more work it generally involves less work overall than a full-time job and can serve as a means of generating extra cash. That extra cash can go towards an emergency fund. So think of something, anything at all. It will make sense. All right? The cost for medical treatment can be expensive, and they continue to increase each year. So emergency funds serve as a safety for these unexpected expenses. And since medical costs are set at shop around for a money market account or savings account with a high yield to let your savings really, really grow. Even if you only contribute a small amount to savings each month, it's good to save whatever you can and plan ahead with a budget. This one says medical emergency savings is as good, but considering the current situation in our country, hunger alone is a medical emergency. So one cannot save while the stomach remains sick and being threatened by gastric ulcer while for medical emergency. Thank you from Mwagwegwe. Hello, Gigi. Okay, hello too. Hi. So it turns out that our phone lines are really acting up, but I believe that we have learned a thing or two from today's conversation on mind, body, and soul. Thank you so much for being a part of it. A recorded program comes up shortly, and thereafter Rivers Today, and after Rivers Today it is Hard Facts by Kalada Koru Batawa. My name is Denise Dennis Wallo. Thanking you so much for spending your Thursday from first conversation up until this moment with me. Is there something else you would need to know? I'll be back here tomorrow, 12 noon to 3 p.m. on the sunny side. Do enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Adios.